Check one, check, check one, check hello, check, check, check one, two, three, check, 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 check one, two, three. Check, check, one, check hello, check,
So we have a good mix of audience here, at least better than what I expected. The turnout was better than what I expected today. I was scared that all the students must be busy in the classes or labs. I was not really very sure the 4 to 6 session would go off as expected. So we have a mix of digital humanities, PhD in science areas and engineering also. Right. So Oxford University Press is one of the major resources as far as journals are concerned. Many of you must be already, aware of Oxford journals. IIT Jodhpur Library subscribes to Oxford University Press journals. And also we have books published by Oxford University Press. Say, I can't tell you that the OUP books belong to one particular subject area or category, but there are several books and they are different titles. So, all right, let me not waste much time because the audience is here and the speaker is here. Let me use this time while my colleague sets up the PowerPoint presentation of our speaker. Let me use this time to introduce the speaker for today, who's come from the Oxford University Press India office. So we have Ms. Sumita Sen. She is the Regional Training and Implementation Manager for South Asia and Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Africa. Sumita has about 20 years of experience in training small and large groups across diverse industries. She comes with a background of MBA in human resource, and she's a certified instructional designer and a certified MBTI professional. So we are glad that Sumita could make it to IIT Jodhpur today. We've been subscribing to Oxford University Press journals, and we've been, we have acquired OUP books, quite many of them since the inception of this library. And she has been doing online sessions with us, and today gives us an opportunity to see her face to face. So I call upon Sumita onto the stage. Yeah, please come.
First one.
Mm. Close this. All right. So over to you, Sumita. Thank you, Kamlesh.
I will need to show them the live site as well. Can I go to the live side, like to a browser? Academic.oup. Can I just bring this down? This is pretty distracting. Close it.
It is connected with the WebEx, so the PPT will be live.
Okay.
So it is screen is sharing.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I know it's a hot afternoon, but I expect a little more energy. Okay. So those of you who are sitting at the back, would you like to come in front since it's a small audience? I won't eat you up, I promise. I'm a vegetarian. Just come up a little in front. It's a huge auditorium and I don't want you to be scattered. Thank you so much for those of you who've obliged. Can you hear me at the back? I have a loud voice. If I use the mic, I'll sound like Mamta Banerjee. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, once more. My name is Sumita, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, Shama ma'am. So today we'll be doing a session on how to publish with Oxford journals. When it's a different computer, you're a little confused, so pardon my confusion. So let's just get started. We're going to begin this session today with an introduction to the company. I will give you a little overview of Oxford journals, our books that you have access to. Then we shall move on to our topic of the day, which is how you can get your research published. We'll talk about preparing your manuscript, how you can select the right journal that you want to submit your work to. We'll just touch upon the submission process. We'll do navigating peer review, how the peer review process works, what it is, why it's important, acceptance. Once your work has been accepted, once your research has been accepted, how does it proceed? What does the production team do? We'll talk about open access and then how you can promote your article. Now, how you can promote your article is actually not something I really need to focus on because all of you are aware of a lot of social media. In fact, I'm sure you're far more updated than I am. So let's just get started. So Oxford University Press is a department of the University of Oxford, headquartered in Oxford, United Kingdom. We are the largest university press in the world. And our mission is to bring educational materials, good quality education materials, to everyone, everywhere across the globe. We have 43 online products. We've got journals, we've got ebooks, we've got handbooks, we've got law, we've got medicine, music, art, bibliographies, dictionaries, encyclopedias. You name it, we have it. We pretty much cover everything in the education world. And how do we do this? We do this by partnering with leading university presses across the globe and leading learned societies across the globe, which you will see in a short while. And while we do all of this, we don't compromise on quality. When you submit your work, or even when you're talking to your classmate or you're talking to someone and someone says something and you say, what is the source of your information? Don't you ask people that? How do you know it's possible? Do you or don't you? You do. And then you say, oh, that's an incorrect source. I don't think you have the right information. So anything that you cite from an Oxford site is 100% authentic, rigorously peer reviewed before we bring it to the audience. We check for academic accuracy, we check for plagiarism, we check for originality before we bring it to you. So there is no compromise on quality. So I've already told you this. And I would be lying if we said we are a non-profit organization. We do make money. But whatever money we do make goes back into education, which is why we call ourselves social publishers. This I have already explained. Now, these are some medical, because this slide, I had to share a presentation which was used for a medical institution. So these are some of the learned societies we partner with. And I would want to skip this site. So before I do continue with the presentation, I'd just like to give you a live demo of our site. I know all of you know how to use or browse and look for information online. Now, COVID, for one, has taught each of us to use these resources. Even housewives who've never used the computer learned how to buy vegetables online. So there is no rocket science in looking for what you want online. Those days of sitting in the library, browsing through information have gone. People are far more tech savvy. So I really won't be showing you how you can browse and search, because you do know all that. But I will talk to you a little about some things that you ought to know about journals. Now, if you go to this URL, academic.oup.com, you will find that you have access to journals on the same page. Let me just, step back a little. Now, you see, you've got access to books and journals on the same platform. We have more than 500 journals on this platform. The easiest way to search is to do a quick search, or you could do a search using the taxonomy here, a subject taxonomy here, and jump to the subject you're interested in. I'll just show you a little bit about our books, because you do subscribe to our books as well. We have Oxford Scholarship Online, which is a collection of ebooks, pure monographic content, which is used for research purposes. If you click on this, it will take you to the list of all the books that are available. Then we have a very interesting product called Very Short Introductions. Now, why I'm showing you this is because I find this product really useful. Let's say, for example, you have a sibling in the family who says, I want to study law, and you know nothing about law. Trust me, before I joined Oxford, I thought law was only limited to the cases we saw in Hindi movies or we saw in courts. I really had no idea that there was law of the sea. I thought the sea was for everyone. I didn't know there was law of the air, until I got stuck once in Doha and I was told that there was some airspace quarrel between, and we were just juggled from one flight to another. So I figured out that there is much more to law. So let's say you have someone who says, I want to study law. There's a very interesting book here on this platform on VSI's. You might want to just read it. It's Emotions. It's a recently released, very short introduction. So VSI's, as the strapline says, brilliant, sharp, inspiring. It's a researcher's starting point. So you see here, I'm just showing you this because I'm sure, it tells you what were the roots of law, what are the different branches of law. It introduces you to a topic. It's your stepping stone to your research. So there's one very interesting one on emotions, which I was reading. You can look for it later. In the interest of time, I won't go looking for it now. Then we have something called Oxford Handbooks. This is also a very interesting product. It is, like it says, compelling new perspectives. It gives you access to critical, state of the art thinking. And each book is a collection of essays. Now, there used to be pocket books in the age of print, which you could refer to when you wanted to find something. So this is exactly that. These are pocket books, and each book is a collection of essays, and each essay is written by an expert of a particular field. I'll just show you this. I'll just show you one just because I'd like to show you one. So you see, each one is written by a different person. Now, this Ellen Ross is probably an expert in this field of study. And Winnie is probably an expert in slum city spaces. So this is the power of handbooks. Let's jump back into our topic of the day. Let's go to journals. Now, I'm going to show you two journals side by side. I'm going to start with a medical journal, primarily because I want you to understand a concept. This is the European Heart Journal. And I will open up another window. Jump to another journal.
Screen is not sharing. It is going
Sorry.
to share this screen.
So how many of you are familiar with the impact factor? Raise your hands nicely. Okay, so can anyone tell me what is the impact factor and why it's important? Okay, so that's the formula, right? How is this data collated? The higher the impact, the better the journal. Correct. Very nice. There's some technical issue. I'm just pausing. So I'll just tell you about the impact factor. The impact factor is based on the number of citations. And you derive the impact factor. It's collated by a company called Clarivate Analytics. They do it. And it is, I don't need a mic. Can you guys hear me?
That was for our online.
Oh, okay. So what happens is the data is derived taking the information of 2 years. So number of times an article was cited divided by the number of citable articles published. That's the formula. But if I want the impact factor, say of the journal African Affairs for 2022, what will I do? I will take the data of 2020 and 2021, which will give me the impact factor of 2022. And according to Clarivate, most of our journals rank in the top 10% in the impact factor category of at least one subject area. And the remaining come in the top 25%. So when you are citing from any Oxford resource, whether it is a book, a handbook, a journal, you can be rest assured that you're citing something qualitative. So can we see this? Do you see the impact factor here? It says 2. And if you see the impact factor of the journal, the European Heart Journal, yeah. So if you look at the impact factor here, it's 39. You see? Why is there such a big difference between this and this? Please understand that the impact factor is based on citations. Which subject do you have maximum research in? Maximum research happens in the field of medicine, chemistry, life sciences. More research, more citations. Not many people study humanities and social sciences, which is why this is a social science journal. The impact factor is low. But does that mean this journal is bad? How will you know? Now, the reason I'm going through this is because this information is critical for you to decide whether you want to publish your work in that particular journal. You need to do this homework before. So if you click on About African Affairs, you see it will give you the evolution of the impact factor. And why do you need to see this? Let's say I run a journal. My journal is called ABC. It's a useless journal. No one reads it. I send it to Shama ma'am. She doesn't upload it on the library platform. I send it to all of you on email. You all don't even shift delete. Gone. No one reads it. Now, I have a friend, Dr. Sumita Sen. I go and tell him, sir, can you just write one article for me, please, for my journal? And he obliges. What happens? You don't always use this journals page to look for information. You use other discovery services. You do? Yes or no? So when you're using, you've probably seen that article and you start citing from it. When you start citing from that article, what happens? The impact factor of my journal automatically goes up. Does that make my journal good? My journal is still bad. It is only that one article that has made a difference to the impact factor. So whenever you choose your journal, to be sure that you're choosing the correct journal, you must check the evolution of the impact factor. Every journal, now you see this journal is published in partnership with the Royal African Society. If you click on this, it'll take you to the homepage of the society. No rocket science here. It tells you what it talks about. Every journal will have these tabs here. It will either have publish here or it will have submit here. Either or. When you click on this, you get the author guidelines. Each journal has its own set of author guidelines. And that is your Bible. Don't say that I've read the author guidelines of this journal, so ek hi baat hai. It's not ek hi baat. Each journal will tell you what is it that they want specifically. That is your Bible. You need to read it very carefully. If you've selected that journal to submit your work, keep a printout and make sure you know it by heart. So this is what I wanted to show you about the impact factor. Now I'm going to just do a little search. Can you just give me a search term? Anything that you want to search on. Otherwise, I'll use my own. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm just using mine. I'm using cybercrime. This is something that is the most scariest thing that's happening to us nowadays. Sorry. Whenever you use search for more than one word, I've told you, and I'm sure you know, put it in quotation marks. Otherwise, it will look for cyber separately, crime separately. And you don't want your number of searches to be huge. I've got 666 results on cybercrime. I'm only interested now. You see, it's showing me book chapters, books. It's doing a full search. I only want journal articles. By default, it shows relevance. You can always choose newest first. Here we are. So let's look at this. I'm just opening a random article. This article is published in this journal. This is the DOI. You all know that DOI stands for Digital Object Identifier, but do you know why it's so important? Someone just told me this morning that it helps me search for the article. I use the DOI and it pulls up the article. Yes? So I'll tell you why the DOI is so important. It's a permanent reference number, that is for sure. Now, let's say you have a sibling in the family who has to, 20 years later, who has to do a research on cybercrime during the pandemic. How much has been published in these past 2-3 years? After 20 years, you will probably have grown a little older and you may not be able to recall. If the professor tells the students that I want you to refer to these articles, now, is it possible for any human to search everything across so many publishers for some articles? Is it humanly possible? No. What if the professor says that when you're doing your research, when you're doing your project, I want you to refer to these articles, and these are the DOIs. Now, the catch is journals keep changing publishers. Today, a journal is with OUP, tomorrow it may be with Wiley. Something that is with Elsevier might come to us. They keep changing publishers. You have leavers and joiners every year. So if you actually know the DOI, even 20 years later, it might have changed 4 publishers, you'll still be able to pull up the article. And when you get your article published, when your article is submitted and accepted, they will assign a DOI to you, which you can integrate in your LinkedIn or wherever. It'll be easy for people to pull up the relevant article. Then you have something called this. Now, all of you who have LinkedIn accounts are aware of this. This is what we call the bibliometrics. It gives you the readership analysis. It tells you how many people have viewed this article. Now, there's no altimetric score here, so I can't pull up anything. But anyway, we will go into that when we come to that part of the presentation. So these are a few things, the impact factor, the DOI, and the altimetrics that I wanted to highlight. Now let's move on to why publish. Why would you want to get your research published? What is the reason? Anyone? Exactly, please sit down, it's not school. Sit. Yeah, to get recognition for your research. Very well said. You have to be acknowledged for what you are studying or what you are working on. You know, my friend's father, he was a scientist with Bose Institute. And ever since I was a kid, I've seen test tubes in their house. And I was nowhere near science. Science, technology scare me. I just move away. He had found the formula for birth control pills. And I'm talking about early 80s, 79, 80. But those days, he was just a brilliant man. He was not into money. Some pharma company took a patent for it and made money out of it. So neither did Uncle get recognition for it, nor did he get any money for it. But today it's not like that. If you discover something, you deserve recognition. You deserve to get it. So you first get your work published because you want recognition for the work you have done, for the research you have done. The second reason you want to get published is because you have found something miraculous and you want to share it with the audience. You want people to know about it. Now, in February, I had a training with JIPMER, and I went down with a very bad throat. It was the adenovirus. I didn't know what it was, but I couldn't speak. I was croaking like a frog. And I asked my doctor, I said, can you suggest something? And he just wrote back, rest. He said, gargle and rest. You can't talk. His only solution was rest. Now, what? And I said, isn't there a magic pill? In JIPMER, I asked the doctors in that croaking voice, I said, is there a magic pill that you can advise? And they said, no. So, what if someone discovers that magic pill? And he would want to share it with people. Apart from getting recognition, it's also a contribution to society. That's another reason why you would want your research to be published. And the third most important reason is it gives you a promotion. It helps you to become a reviewer later in life, because reviewers are usually by invitation. You can't just say, I want to be a reviewer. So there is the author resources. You have the presentation. I will ask ma'am to upload it on the library platform. There are plenty of hyperlinks here. So you can check the author resources and you will get all the information that you need. So we have a lot of information here. Now let's move on to our real meat. So far, it was just the starters. The publishing process begins with preparation, the most important step. You can't start anything without preparation. Failing to plan is planning to fail. You agree with me on this? So you can't go and say, I want to do this, and then discover you don't. I want to build a house, but okay, I don't have cement. I just have bricks. What are you going to do with just bricks? You can't hold the walls. So preparation, that's the most important step. Then submission, which I will show you, production, publication, and promotion. The first step to getting your work published is preparation. And when you're preparing, what is the first thing you will do? You will choose the correct journal. If you are doing a research on changing a society norm, let's say you're looking at, right now, the recent talk is LGBTQIA. Recent. Let's say you're looking at some reform related to it. Would you choose a medical journal? Or would you choose a journal like, say, Medical Law Review? Or would you choose law of a law journal, or probably a medical journal? You would choose something from social sciences, right? Because you're talking about society. Your research deals with it. And that information you will get in about the journal. When you click on about a particular journal, it will tell you what it is, it covers. So you need to see the aims and scope. This information will be found in about the journal and in the author guidelines. The author guidelines will tell you that this journal publishes articles on, these are the kind of articles that we publish. So it'll give you that information. You will have to see what are the kinds of articles they consider. Some journals consider only case reports. Some consider only commentaries. You will have to see what are the kinds and whether your research fits into it or not. That's the most important step. If you go to a wrong place, if you want to study engineering, you will not go to a medical college. You will go to an engineering college, right? If you're studying technology, you won't go to any other college for that matter. Then you will think of subscription versus open access. Can anyone tell me what is open access? I've received a very interesting answer in one of my recent sessions. Let me see what I get from you. What is open access? Anyone can read the article journal, yes. It's free, yeah, without a paywall. It's free. It's available to the audience. Okay, so that is the user point of view. And so in one particular session, I had one scholar tell me that open access is where we have to pay a big author processing charge to get our work published. So his way of looking at it was that, which was also right. He wasn't wrong. So open access is, of course, where the author pays a charge to get his work published, but there is a catch here. Let's say you are interested, let's say I'm writing a book and I want you people to read it. How will you read the book? You'll have to go and buy the book, right? I'm not going to give out free copies, correct? Now, suppose I have discovered, now recently there is this new discovery of an injection for cancer treatment. It's just been in the news since yesterday, right? Now, I have discovered something really nice and I want it to be free to the audience. I will have to pay the publisher. That is the author processing charge. As an author, you have to pay. But that does not mean you will write Jack and Jill Went Up the Hill and OUP will publish it. Even if it is open access, it will still go through the same rigorous process of peer review. It will still go through that same process. The other thing is, let's say you've really discovered something very nice and you've put it as a normal entry. You've just submitted your article. The editor thinks that, wow, this is very good information. It has to be open. The editor decides to make it open access. Do you remember during COVID, everything was free? Every research around COVID was free for all of you. All publishers gave you free content. They made it open access because it was a problem that the world was dealing with. It was a global issue. So if you discover something really great and the editor thinks, okay, this has to be open, everyone should read it. So it is the editor who can make that choice too. Sometimes open access, it becomes open access after a period of time, when it crosses the embargo period. If you look at old Hindi movies on YouTube, you don't have to see them through Netflix. You don't have to buy a subscription because they're available. They've crossed that stage of collecting money. You look for a Jane Austen book. Now, I can only use Jane Austen because I'm a literature student. I can't think of another better example. So you decide whether you want to go into, your research is so good, the editor might do it. But if you want to choose open access, you have a choice. You pay the APC. You check the speed of publication, which is available in the author guidelines. I'll show you a sample of that. Peer review process, whether it is single anonymized, double anonymized, or open, which means anyone can peer review it. Bibliometrics, I showed you that thing where if you click on it, it'll tell you how many people have viewed the article, how many people have read the article, what are the kind of people. I'll show you another article which probably has a little more information. And content innovation, that is if you've discovered something new. This is a very important slide. You might want to make a note of this, the Bealls list, BEALLS. Please make a note of it on your cell phone or write it down. The Bealls list. It's not there on the slide. This is something I'm telling you. The Bealls list gives you the list of all blacklisted journals. In the desire to get your work published, do not choose a blacklisted journal. They will take the author processing charge and publish your work. And you will feel thrilled about it. It will destroy your career as a researcher. Be very mindful of which journal you choose. Very important. Check the Beals list, it's updated every quarter. If you go to Google and type Beals list, it will show you. There is this free service called Think, Check, Submit. You can look for it in Google. It's available in 36 languages, and it helps you to choose a quality journal. How would you choose your journal? When you're doing your research, you would probably go down, make a list of at least 10 to 20 journals. Yeah, sure.
No, I want you to be here. It's not in the Beals list because I just wanted them to know. It's not in the Beals list.
Sure.
Okay. The flow will be easy for them to understand.
Okay, sure. Beals list is
Yeah, yeah. Just a second. Right? Hello. Tab.
I can't see anything.
Yeah, I'm just requesting Sumita to open up the Beals list because it's really important. In the flow of the talk, you would understand what it is. And you can always look
See,
it
yeah.
up.
So you see, if you type Beals list in Google, the first one. So you can look at so these are all the journals which will. You can go to the update, you can take a look at these. And these are the journals that are probably but they may be predatory. So you see this, you can go and take a look at in detail. It's a very, very simple site. Should I move on? Now, when you're doing your research on a given topic, you are making, you need to make a list of all the articles that you are citing in your research, right? You're doing your citation, you're creating your own bibliography. But when you're doing that, you are also noting the name of the journals. And they are common to the kind of research you're doing. So you might want to check the author guidelines and about that journal. So you shortlist the journals you want to submit your article to. That is the most important thing. Choosing your journals, staying away from predatory journals, and making a list of target journals. That is your first step. And how do you do it? You check you check the impact factor, you check the evolution of the impact factor, you check the bibliometrics, you check the scope of the journal. You do a lot of homework before you actually get down to doing before you come down to the real meat. Now, there are different kinds of research articles that you can submit. One is original research. Apples have been falling for thousands of years, right? It was only Newton who picked it up and threw it up in the air and discovered the law of gravity. You can't throw a coconut up and say, okay, that also fell down, so that's also gravity. That's not intelligent, is it? That's not new. But if you discover something really, really new, or you discover a newer law of gravity, that is original research, something really new, which no one has found out yet. Then you have letters or rapid communications or short reports. You know what these rapid communications are? Let's say you are doing your research on finding that magic pill to get my voice back. You are just about to submit it when you find that somebody else has already submitted that work. That research is gone. Or let's talk about something that's closer to your field. Let's move away from medicine. Let's talk about intellectual property rights. You know something, we used to have an HR manager when I first started my career. And when she left our company and moved to HSBC. And when she moved to HSBC, whatever content presentations she had created, she took them to HSBC with her. And there was this huge case. But she said, I made it, I took it. After which it became a clause in everyone's appointment letter that you cannot take company material. Even if you have created it, once you have given up your designation, this thing is. So there is a real fight. It is my work. I made it. It's my Taj Mahal. I can take it from Agra and bring it to Delhi. It's my work. This argument, suppose you're working on a case like that, and you're trying to present it that the person cannot take it from X company to Y company. Right? And it's only fair that you can't take it. But I have created it. I personally feel I can do it. And this is a true story. This has happened. Now, just before you're about to submit your research, you find that someone else has already submitted it. You are very heartbroken. You've spent 3 months doing that research. Why should somebody else's work be there before you? Don't be. Read that research carefully. When you read that research, you will find that that person probably has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Your research is 8 points. So put your case properly. Say, I completely agree with this research. Write to the editor. It's absolutely in sync with what I was doing. But I would like to add that I've got 2 more points to this, which can make the case stronger or which can make the article stronger. What happens? You end up becoming a co-author. So that's a very nice way. So keep your eyes and ears open all the time. Review articles, of course, by invitation. Then you have case studies. Look around you. Anthropology. Law, medicine, of course. Medicine comes up with some very interesting cases. I have a doctor friend who tells me that there are patients, there's one patient who called him up at 10 o'clock at night. He must have told her that have a biscuit in the morning or something. And she said, should I have a cream cracker or a Mary biscuit? The doctor says there are some psycho patients who just imagine that they're dying. There's another girl who went up and said she probably had a little cold and she must have had a little bit of bleeding from her nose. And in Bengali, she told the doctor, jhod jhore, it's just flowing out like a fountain. And the doctor gave her a battery of tests, 17,000 rupees. Case study, nothing, just like that, just attention. So there are so many, anthropology, when look around people's behavior, see why people do certain things. In office, observe people's work styles. Observe people's modus operandi. You have trainers coming from different publishing houses. You see each trainer gives you a different presentation. For all you know, the dish is the same, but it's presented differently. You have to create your own case. Case reports is an excellent way of getting your research published. Try and make a story around it. If you notice every aspect that I have explained to you, I've always spun a story around it. There's one of my ex-bosses. I would love it if you could follow her on LinkedIn, Tanya Mathur Bhattacharya. She's a business storyteller. She writes beautiful business stories. Try and follow her. You will really love her stories. And they're all related, and she goes to all business schools. Okay, so case studies is an interesting way of making people learn. And then you have methods or methodology. That's more applicable in engineering, in medicine, surgeries, etc. Now, here is your biggest catch. When you submit your article, remember it's not a job application. ये नहीं resume 10 जगह दे दिया, कोई ना कोई company तो ले ही लेगा. It's not like that. Don't gamble by submitting your article to more than one journal at a time. Not only will all the 10 journals reject your article, you will also lose credibility as a researcher. And you don't want that to happen. You don't want to spoil your chances, do you? Make sure it is original, it is your work. Not like Anu Malik, who makes a song copying one line from 10 different songs. I can easily write a book. I'll take one line from Charles Dickens, one from Wordsworth, one from Jane Austen, one from Shakespeare, and write a full book, and one from Wodehouse. It's very easy to copy lines and phrases. Make sure there's no plagiarism. Even if it is an idea, you don't want to lose your credibility as a researcher. The others I have already told you. Refer to this, the SAGE guidelines. It's hyperlinked. There's a lot of information there. Refer to this, please. Especially, in case studies, when you're trying to include relevant characteristics, the SAGE guidelines come into importance. Then now you have to write your article. You've decided which journal, you've got your research in mind, you've done all your work. What's your next step? You have to write it out. And most importantly is you need to give it a good title. Have you seen MSN News? Every time you go on Explorer, it comes up. And the titles are really catchy. When you open the article, there's nothing. I mean, they don't even come out with anything that you really need to know. You already know that. But the titles are catchy. They make you open the article. So that make the title very interesting. Abstract is a summary of your work. It's like a trailer of a movie. Introduce the topic. What motivated you to do this research? And why are you doing it? How did you do the research? The steps that you followed, and what happened after following those steps? What were the results? Paragraph-wise, put it down. And what is your final conclusion? If there are acknowledgements, funding, conflict of interest, references, data, please make sure you add all of them. If there are figures, images that you want to include, OUP gives you the option. We also have the Braille format for visually impaired readers. So if you're interested in including that, you can do that as well. Now I'm going to move on to, thank you so much. We're going to move on to latte template. I will have to jump to a journal. I'm going to show you one journal which actually has all the information. So though it's a medical journal, I'm really sorry. But since I know it's got everything, I'm going to show you that. You see, all of them have this, either submit or publish. Here are the author guidelines. Look at this. It tells you, every author guideline will tell you this. It will give you this information. What all do we accept? What all do they accept? The processing times, This is what an author guideline will look like. Do you see this? One journal will tell you, I want Times Roman. One journal will say, I want Calibri. One will say, I want Tahoma. One will say, I want 4 paragraphs. One will say, I want 10 paragraphs. One will say, I want 4 images. How would you distinguish? And how much of work will you do? So we have something, these journals, most journals have this option of latte. It's spelled as LATEX, but it's pronounced as latte. The entire template, most journals have that option. You can download the template, and all it does is the author has to just type his work. It will automatically do the formatting for you. It's not a word processor. It just makes you focus more on your research than on beautifying your article. That is what the latte template does. Is that clear? Any questions so far? Okay, good. "99% journals have the latte template. If it is not there in the journals, this is the hyperlink that you will use, overleaf. Then if there is any permission you need from someone, say suppose you're submitting someone as a case study, you have to take permission from that person. Can I use your name? Can I use your company's name? You just can't use it like that. Language editing. If English is not your first language, you have to be very careful. We don't want you to be Shashi Tharoor, but simple, correct English. There are 2 sites that I always encourage people to follow, Editage and Enago. You can follow them on LinkedIn. Editage and Enago. They come up with very good research tips for writers. If you go via this link and you use Enago services, OUP, you're entitled to a 30% discount, but we do not promote any of these. Don't go back tomorrow and say that Sumita came and told us I can use Enago and my research will be published. We only suggest, we don't guarantee. That the editor will decide whether your article is worth publishing. Okay, I can either give you a 5-minute break or a 10-minute break, or I can finish the session in the next 25 minutes. What is it? How many of you want a break? Raise your hand. Only 1, 2. Raise your hand properly. Young people, no energy. 1, 2, 3, 4 only. The majority says they don't want a break. So, but respecting all of you, it's 5:12, exactly 5 minutes from now. 5:17, I want you back. And don't run away. Okay, I've given you 2 more minutes. Is everyone back or has anyone run away? Okay, welcome back. So now I'm assuming that all of you have done your preparation. You've decided what you wanted to do research on. And what's your name, ma'am? Okay, thank you so much. So, like Tanvi came up with something very interesting. She was talking about how she could do case reports. So she's done her research. She's decided which journal she wants to submit her work in. She's done all her homework. It's ready. Her article is ready to submit. Now she has to submit it. She's not going to keep it in the bank locker, right? So let's see how the submission process works. Now I will go back into the journals page. If you look here in the submit, you have author guidelines. Every journal will have this for you. Before you say you showed me a medical journal, every journal will have it for you. Okay, now this is my I really don't remember my password, so okay, but I really don't remember my password. My laptop reads it. So when you go to the submission site, it will ask you to create an account or to log in with your ORCID ID. Now, that is the best thing. I really don't remember my password. So I'm going to try my luck. And if it doesn't work, even if I try and reset my password, it will come to my office ID. Okay. All of you have created accounts with different shopping sites, whether it's a Flipkart or an Amazon or anywhere. For anything, everything that you do now, they ask you to sign in to create your own account. So it will ask you to either create an account or log in with an ORCID ID. And you know, it'll ask you for your name, the name of your institution. It'll ask you for just the way it's normally done. Now, the ORCID, or it'll ask you to sign in with an ORCID ID. What's an ORCID ID? Correct. It's online researcher and contributor identification. Just like you have your own Aadhaar card number, your PAN card number, your ORCID ID is your identification as an author. In this world of cheating, everybody is taking every credit for somebody else's work. Everywhere we see it. How will we know? There are so many. Let's say my name is Jane Smith. I live in India. There are about 5,000 Jane Smiths across the globe. How would I identify which is the Jane Smith? That is when so I will one ORCID ID, just like it is a crime to have two PAN cards, it's a crime to have two ORCID IDs. If you don't have an ORCID ID, you won't even be able to submit your article. It'll go and get stuck at the submit page. It'll give you an error message saying you've not done this. So it is compulsory. You have to create an ORCID ID. And when I said it's not a job application, don't submit the same article simultaneously to 10 journals, the reason I said that was that it will automatically read your ORCID ID. And those 10 journals will know that you have submitted it to, it's not. So it'll automatic, and when you go to the submission site, when you click on submit, it will either go to Scholar One or to Editorial Manager. And both are Clarivate products. I suggest you do a YouTube video on Scholar One and Editorial Manager. Because they're not my products, I'm not authorized to talk about them. But that software automatically reads it. And they will reject your article. And altogether, all the 10 journals will reject your article. No one will accept it. So that is why it is important. So we are not being able to do the submission process, but it's a fairly simple thing. What you must remember is your cover letter. Remember, you will not get a second chance to make a good first impression. So make sure your cover letter is written in simple, correct English. It describes your area of research. It talks about what you are trying to convey and what are your past achievements. That's very important. We'll have to skip the submission process, but it's a fairly simple thing. There are a few slides here which will show you. And here again, if there is funding for your research, please make sure you comply with these funder policies. So check these hyperlinks when you get this presentation. Look at these. Now, you know, some journals, when we are coming to, when you're submitting it, when you're going through the process, they give you an option of choosing your reviewers. They ask you to choose 5 reviewers. You can choose people whose work you admire. You can choose your own professor's names. You can put in anyone's name. There is no guarantee it will go to that person. There's no guarantee about that. Who is reviewing your work and whose work the reviewer is reviewing is completely anonymized throughout the process. Nobody will know. You also, some journals like Age and Aging also tells you, I oppose this reviewer. So if you don't like a particular professor, you can put his name. But again, no guarantee. For all you know, if you've chosen 5 reviewers, they will give it to not give it to those 5 reviewers. That's also a possibility. But that's just an option that they give you. ORCID ID, I have explained to you. Now we move on to peer review. Without peer review, there would be an intellectual war. You agree with me, right? It is the academic term for quality control. It'll check whether your research is original, valid, and significant. If you have copied it from somewhere, if the idea is copied, any of it, it will read. And the intellectual property rights will have your back, or will be behind your back, in fact. So how does it work? You submit your work, right? It goes to the editorial office. The editorial office will assign an editor. It will go to the editor. The editors will choose reviewers, or they will immediately reject it. When is an article rejected immediately? First reason, plagiarism. Second reason, out of scope. Otherwise, it is not rejected. If you have not cheated, and if it is not within the purview of the journal, it won't be rejected. So we are not going this way, we are going positive. The editor will select reviewers, the reviewers will write their report and send it back to the editor. Now, I did a session at AIMS Deoghar recently, and the executive director was there. And honestly, he was one of the most impressive men I have met in my entire career in OUP in the last 10 years. He was talking to everyone, and like they say, there is no teaching, only learning. I came back with a very good learning from there. He said, submit your work to a good journal. Don't think that you're going to lose. They will reject your work, but you will at least get the reviewer comments, which will benefit you, which will help you to make your next research journey better, your next article better. That's a great learning. 80% people don't even try because they're scared of failing. I had a dentist once who had attended my session in Manipal University, and he said, this particular journal I'm not even targeting because I know they'll reject it. He didn't even want to try, but that was when I had started my career, and now towards I'm all going to retire in a few months. He was like, this gentleman said, आपको reviewer comments तो मिलेंगे, वो आपके काम में आएंगे. And that's very true. So the editor will decide whether the editor wants your work published or not. The editor might send it back to you to make a few changes. It is your choice to make those changes and give it back, or your choice to withdraw your research. That's completely your choice. The editor might reject it after reading this report, but I would want to go this way. The editor accepts your decision, your work, and it comes to the publisher. So it has come to OUP. There are different peer review models. These are some examples. So read them in detail. Now, let us assume your article has been rejected. You're going to be very depressed. It's normal. We've all faced rejection. When I was 25, I had applied for a job in a school. I just walked in. Those days, where did we? And you had to go to a typist and get your resume typed out. I'm talking about some 40 years ago. Not 40 exactly, 35 years ago. And this principal, before I'd even walked out of the room, she crumpled up my resume and threw it in the dustbin. And I was very bold. I turned around and I said, ma'am, you've just thrown my resume in the dustbin. She obviously would never hire me because she realized this person cannot be a teacher here. So we've all been rejected. Before I got Oxford, I was rejected by Trinity College. I went into severe depression. But it's okay. If you fail, only will you learn that this is the mistake I made last time, so I'm not going to make it again. Give yourself another shot. We're all human. You're worth it. Remember, look at your cover letter. Very important. See if you are writing it. You might want to rewrite your cover letter because it's very important. The person doesn't know you. The person recognizes you only or identifies you only with your cover letter. So you might want to rewrite it. You might want to make a few changes here and there, tweak it to suit the industry or the area of research. It is normal to react. You might want to just fight with the reviewer and say, why? You give me a reason. Don't be rude. You have the right to feedback. If in a job application also, if you're rejected, you have the right to ask the company for feedback. Why aren't you taking me? I'm okay, don't take me. But why are you rejecting me? I want to know so that I want to improve. Like in school, you went to your teacher and said, why did you give me less marks? Both of us copied, we wrote the same answer. Why did you give her more marks than I did? Likewise, you have the right to feedback. Don't use rude comments. Be respectful. You don't want to burn bridges if you're planning to stay. Continue submitting your work. We are assuming that your article is accepted. What does it do? It comes to the production company, the production team. The production team sends you an email. When they send you an email, they will send you the DOI to your article. Now, do you understand why I explained DOI? The minute your manuscript is accepted, it is not an article till it is not accepted. It's still then a manuscript. Your manuscript will be given a DOI. Once it has a DOI, it becomes an article. Then the production team will ask you to choose a license to publish. It will send you. And they will not proceed until you have selected a license to publish. After which they will copy edit it and send it to you for proof review. You see it, if you agree, if you think, if you have to make any changes, make the changes now. Once it is published, we do not accept any changes, unless, of course, there's a change in the accuracy of the results. Otherwise, no. Make your final corrections here. It'll come back to us for final revision, and then it is published online. If you look at any journal, I'll show you another journal now. If you look at any journal, if you go to more content, and if you click on advanced articles, you will find those that have been accepted but not yet published. But they've been accepted. So suppose you're doing your research on this. You can quickly read this and add a short communication and become a co-author if you're also doing research on this. Here you are. So you have this chance. So under advanced articles is where you get accepted manuscripts. Article metrics. You do know, I'm sure all of you are on LinkedIn, so you do know. Where did I go? What did I do? Have I done something wrong? Okay. Well, let's take an old article. I just want to show you the metrics. Let's take this. Okay, no altimetric score. Here. When you click on the altimetric score, now this is collated by a company called altimetrics.inc, based in California. They actually see, it tells you, it gives you the demographic and the geographical breakdown. It tells you who are the kinds of people who are reading this kind of work. So if your research is centered around something that is a case in India, or you're looking at a human resource behavior in India, and if the article is read here and there's no readership here, you might not want to consider this journal, because most articles will tell you where the readership is. It'll give you an idea. So this is something that you might want to take a look at. And you can, of course, also follow the altimetrics of your article which has been published. You will get to know how many people are reading it. Open access, I have explained to you. We have 4 open access models: gold, fully open access, green and hybrid. We've also introduced a diamond open access. I don't have the information right now to disclose, but these are the different open access models. Now, what I'm going to talk about is read and publish deals. Now, since this isn't a sales pitch, I'm just going to tell you what read and publish is. Read and publish is an agreement between the publisher and the institution where they subscribe to our journals and they also pay APC. The institution is already paying the APC for, say, 30 odd articles. I'm just giving you a rhetoric number 30 odd articles. 30 people can publish their work, for example. So, this is an agreement. And how does it work? The manuscript comes into production, which means it's gone through peer review. It has reached the production team. After which it comes to you, you sign the open access license. And what do? You refer the charges to your institution. Your institution will review your work. They will make their own decision and they will decide whether they are accepting it or rejecting it. So the final decision lies with the institution. Which brings us to almost the end of it. Promoting, I really don't need to talk about. You know, there's Twitter or X as it's called now. You've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn. You can put it in your library web page. You can put your DOI in your email signature. Please read my article, DOI. So you can include it in conferences, wherever. You can promote your work how and when you like. But make sure you check with your institution's policies of how much you're allowed to disclose before it is totally open to the public. You don't want to fall into trouble. Any questions? Anyone, any questions? No? Either I'm an excellent trainer or you guys know everything.
Ma'am, thank you so much. Your session was very, very informative.
Thank you so much. Well then, thank you so much for being a patient audience. Have a good rest of the evening. Bye.
Thank you so much, Sumita, for this wonderful and engaging talk. So, yeah, like Sumita, I'm also assuming she's an excellent speaker. Of course, there's no doubt about it, but then there are no questions. Or our online audience might have something that might come up as a query through email or something. I'll have them passed on to you for your answers.
Share my email address.
Yes.
I'll just share my email address then. Here's my email address. Can you see it? It's too tiny.
Sumita.
I really don't know how to increase the size of this. This computer is... Is it okay now? Good enough?
Sumita.sen@oup.com.
If you have any questions, do write to me. I'll be happy to help you as much as I can within my limits. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Should I close this?
Yeah, you can leave it there. We'll close it. So, as a small token of our affection and gratitude to you, Sumita, we have a small memento for you today. Thank you so much for coming down to IIT Jodhpur. It's hot, but yet, please.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll request my colleague Kamlesh to kindly present a vote of thanks officially. And yeah, pretty soon we'll send out these Google Forms for you to fill out and let us know the possible dates for your next session and what all would you want us to do. Just tell them that their names, they will all search. All right.
Okay, we have registered that email ID also. So, good evening. On behalf of IIT Jodhpur, I stand here to express my gratitude and extend a warm vote of thanks to the speaker, Madam Sumita Sen, and the student who made this event success. Today we learn about the Oxford Journal's impact factors, smart searching techniques, and process of turning thesis publish your paper. Also the submission process, journal publishings, open access, and read and publish. Last but not least, we express our deepest gratitude to the director IIT Jodhpur for providing us with the much needed support and platform to host this event. His commitment to fostering academic excellence and promoting scholarly discourse is commendable, and we are privileged to be a part of such vibrant academic community. In closing, I place my thanks on record to the Chairman Library Committee, my library team, Computer Center, Estate Office, and Logistic team for their kind support. Thank you all for your presence and active participations. Please join us for a tea in the lobby. So, thank you very much.